Hi smart players! Today we'll be interested in a very rare replica on the airsoft fields. The M945 manufactured by CSY, little known brand that produces few replicas but some little treasures. It is sometimes labeled A and K or well, but also sometimes without stamped mark, so ACM for all China made, as it would be made in China. The M945, inspired by the M1911, is a pistol manufactured by Smith & Wesson and customized in a workshop, the Performance Center, to increase its performances. But this is the gas blowback airsoft replica that will now go on the test bench. Even bigger than its cause in the 1911, with 220mm in length, 148 in height, and a mass of 974 grams thanks to the metal parts. The slide, the frame, the trigger, the safeties, the hammer, the sights, the outer barrel, internal ports and quite everything in fact, except the grips, which are in ABS. I present here the black version, but it also exists in silver. The paint is matte black. It goes off quite easily if you rub the replica against something, but clearly not as much as on some WE GBBs. Here it can make a quite nice battle-used effect after a few uses. We can note some small defects in this painting, as above the slide stop, on the frame, near the thumb safety, or on the trigger. Nothing really bad anyway. The layer is nevertheless thick enough to smooth the edges of the replica, which can be particularly seen near the gripping striations of the slide, where attentive eyes already spotted a false extractor which isn't directly molded in the mass. Very appreciable detail. And as good news can hide another, the outer barrel is threaded 11mm clockwise with an attention up to reproduce striations of the barrel within the thread. We add overall markings identical to the reproduced ribbon, those of the Performance Center on the left side of the slide, with the recall of the model 945. On the right, markings of the brand Smith & Wesson, Springfield, Massachusetts, USA. Above the trigger we find the logo of the Performance Center and another reminder of the model. As you can see, these markings are laserized on the paint, while on the outer barrel they are marked in depth, with the caliber 45 ATP and performance, or rather perf armors. It's a bit disappointing to have missed the manufacturing mold on a detail like this. Last markings, those present on the rear side indicating how to adjust it. And yes, these sides have no white points or optical fiber, but they are luckily fully adjustable in elevation and windage. I know manufacturers who wouldn't have replicated the operation of the sides. As for the Extractor, it's these small details that make all the difference and the feeling that we can have with a replica. And considering feeling, although we have a basic architecture dated from more than a century, this replica is well modernized, especially in terms of ergonomics. The handle is equipped with reliefs at the front and back for good prehension and good grip even in the rain. And that's not all, since against all appearance, the bottom of the handle is milled to receive the magazine more easily and quickly, a bit like a magwell. Certainly less effective, but without altering the design of the replica. A bit higher we find a very prominent magazine release button, facilitating again the handling of the replica while reloading. Still higher, 1911 fans won't be left behind since the replica takes again the same type of safety. The FAM safety at the slide frame junction, it's ambidextrous, which will delight left-handed or akimbo lovers, but that will come back later. And of course, the grip safety that prevents the shot if it's not pressed by the hand of the player. All this works very well, but we can note a discrete looseness between the two sides of the FAM safety. And when we talk about looseness, we can notice that there is some between the slide and the frame, and strangely, especially on the left side. But if we shake it a little bit, only the outer barrel makes a little noise. A hollow hammer, relatively few noisy. And the trigger that has a travel of 2 mm before reaching the wall and 1 mm once crossed. If we combine this short travel with a low weight trigger, we have everything for fast shooting. The slide stop is of course functional. It is thicker, but it could have been extended to make it easier to use with small hands, but that's just related to the original pistol. The magazine has marks on each side, allowing on the rear one to check its filling. A double stack of BBs to carry the capacity to 26 BBs. A brass ejection valve, plastic clips, a sliding base that protects the sealing screw but also and especially the filling valve without prohibiting its access in normal use. Overall, a magazine very similar to Tokyo Marui 1911 magazines. But in fact it's not. These misleading similarities hide a complete incompatibility between these magazines. On the other hand, since we talk about compatibility with the 1911, little surprise, this replica fits into the rigid holsters of 1911s. And fits perfectly. Almost better, even without forcing. And that's pretty good. Regarding the operation, it's smooth and the kick is relatively strong. Well, I won't say much more about the operation of the replica, since all this is only in the base case. If the cycle is smooth, the replica is quickly transformed into a gas plant. As you can see, true brand new replicas, and it leaks everywhere. In fact, the internals would have gained to be somewhat optimized on gas management. The magazine is thin and contains just enough gas, but it's wasted in the pneumatic mechanism. It leaks between magazine and nozzle, reducing the amount of usable gas. It leaks at the piston head, reducing the kick and risking to prevent a functional cycle. And it even seems to leak at the rocket valve with a lot of gas wasted through the barrel. And all this is confirmed at the chrony. Gas leaks induce a refreshing, if not freezing, of the replica internals, making it very sensitive to cool down, as you can see, with a firing power that quickly drops 80 FPS in 20 shots, from 280 to 200 FPS. Surprisingly, the replica isn't degassing at that one point. Well, I reassure you, everything is not so bad, and we'll see that the replica hides a great surprise, likely to erase this big trouble of operation. First, to adjust the hop-up, you must remove the slide, so just take a look to it. Back the slide. Remove the slide stop by pushing it by its right side. Move the slide forward and remove it. Then simply turn the hop-up adjustment wheel. Amateurs of 1911s will have noticed, yes, these internals look very similar to those of a Maori Type 1911, which is, in case you need reminding, the second platform of GBBs in terms of number of upgrade pieces available. And as you can see here, in comparison with a slide from a Maori copy, it's very similar. Let's check it out quickly. Unscrew the rear sides. Remove it completely. Remove the blowback housing. Yes, in order not to damage the hop-up chamber, it's necessary to proceed in this way. Remove the barrel and the hop-up chamber. That's it. Interesting, no? The outer barrel is somewhat different and a priori incompatible with 1911. The blowback housing is very similar, but has especially a screw thread to screw the sight in it. The nozzles are also very similar. The gas window is not quite the same place, but a priori still compatible. The hop-up unit is clearly compatible with high kappa, or 1911 with screw pin, or you cut the pin. The hop-up rubber is Maori compatible, just like the inner barrel, and that's great for improving range and accuracy. Overall, facing this gas plant, a complete maintenance at receipt is essential. If leaks persist, you know which parts to get if you are ready to seriously tinker. For this reason, there will be no outdoor shooting tests, as this replica must be considered as to be modified upon receipt. In short, this replica is very different from what we can see on the airsoft fields. Close to a 1911, it's completely revisited on ergonomics, significantly improved, especially with an adjustable wrist sight on 2 axes, nice gripping striations on the slides, a textured handle, ambidextrous safety. The trigger, the slide stop and the magazine release button being modified while remaining sober and classic. The quality of manufacture being very good for this price range. This replica works relatively well, but has major sealing issues that must be corrected. It's perfectly compatible with Maori type inner barrels and upper probers, and although being exotic, it uses many pieces pretty compatible with those of 1911. You just need to slightly modify them. This M945 is clearly not a good investment for a beginner, but it will delight the experienced handyman who will find there an original replica that only them will be able to get the best performances. Oioiairsoft.com has recently reached the milestone of 500,000 visits. A big thank you to you. You are now from 148 countries to look for reliable airsoft data. If you like this content, subscribe to the YouTube channel, share this video. It's these nudges that allow me to present you nice things.